Hello, everyone. Welcome to another session of Parallel Barking. My name is Larry Backer, Woof Woof, and I'm here with my puppy,
Ariana Backer, Bark Bark.
Hooray. Today, we are going to talk about miracle drugs. I love miracle drugs. We are not talking about your grandfather's miracle drugs or your grandmother's miracle drugs, LSD, and we're not talking about our great-grandparents' miracle drugs, the polio vaccine, and the like. We are talking about
Although still
drugs.
good. Those
We
are
are
oldies but goodies.
right. Miracles are now socially contingent. And while we once worried about self-actualization and we worried about death by diseases like smallpox, that's great-great-great-great-great-grandparents, and we worried about all those things. Now we worry about two different things. We worry about our big, large protrusions of fat from all places in our body. We
Wait,
worry
wait,
about being
wait.
overweight.
Oh, I think actually you did say that right.
Yes,
Considering Roald Dahl. You did.
yes,
You
I
said that
did. I
perfectly.
did. So we are worrying about our body weight and therefore our body image and therefore the way in which our body speaks more to us and our place in society than anything else, which in some respects is probably more important than worrying about the effects of polio or the life-altering consequences of LSD. And we're also talking about living longer.
Extending your
Extending
lifespan.
your life. And in particular, we're going to be talking about Ozempic, which is marketed in under its trade name. It's marketed under a variety of different names, but it's semaglutide, and I mispronounced it, but I've never been good with multisyllabic words. And then the fountain of youth miracle drug, that's how it's being marketed, because marketing is more important than anything else, is rapamycin. So we're going to talk about them both today.
We are.
So how do you feel about being skinny and young forever? As long as you keep buying this stuff.
I don't know. How much is it going to cost me?
Oh. Well, at least you've hit the nail on the head, which is the relationship between these grand advances in scientific miracle drugs and markets.
Right.
And now there does seem to be a market in these things. The interesting thing, of course, is that both Ozempic and rapamycin were created to solve other very pressing and medically important, that is, catastrophic problems.
That's a great point. Yeah, they were both originally for other issues.
For others, but also catastrophic issues. The fact that my pants are now tied around my rear end is not as catastrophic as the fact that if I don't have a drug intervention, I'm going to die. As much as I may think that they're equivalent, I don't think that others would agree. So Ozempic was designed, I think, to treat diabetes 2. Is it? I believe it's one of the diabetes 2, and one of its side effects, they noted, and there were several side effects, but this was the notable one that then created the breakthrough, was that it appeared to suppress weight in patients. That was then discovered because you put the emphasis on the other syllable, and
Syllable.
Right. One person's side effect is another person's purpose in creating the drug. And people who, in fact, were beginning to suspect that the dryer indeed was not the reason why their pants felt tighter than they did, than they had before, decided, wow, this is the answer to problems. That's on the worst possible part of the scale. And then others said, well, there are classes of people who are morbidly obese, that is, whose obesity with respect to which you've tried all kinds of other procedures, they haven't been helped, and now maybe this will be the thing that will help them. So on the one hand, you've got the medical necessity. On the other, you've got the vanity, and of course, what has driven this and exploded its interest as a social phenomena is not the fact that it is helping people who are, again, at a critical life stage in terms of their health. But the fact that it does help you avoid having to buy one larger size pair of pants, because you just cannot stay away from those brownie topped cheesecake sundaes.
That's making me hungry, and I will never
I'll
stop
tell
eating
you,
them.
after this is over, we will both share one and then
Is there
then we will run to our physician and say, we need some Ozempic.
Ozempic? We absolutely do. I mean, I
Right.
think part of why this is so popular is social media. I mean, come on. You can't beat TikTok videos featuring the creators talking
No,
about
no, I agree. I agree. And again, that it's an interesting combination of the way medicine now is to some extent, and everyone talks about this, I suspect, the way that everything in terms of quote unquote human progress is now, I don't want to say bottom up or top down, but that is driven in a sense by a social vanguard that is itself much more democratic in the sense that anyone with the right set of qualities and enough savvy can propel themselves to a point where they can not control, influence. They can influence to a substantial degree taste, and by influencing taste, of course, you're influencing markets, and by influencing markets, you're influencing the flows not just of capital and economic activity, but the flows of power and power relationships as well. And then you will
although in
get
this
invited
case
to the Met Gala.
although in this case what's interesting is the creator of Ozempic was using TikTok and people were asking, how do I get my hands on this stuff? So
You mean once it became a weight loss drug rather than a diabetes drug?
absolutely.
Okay, so he wasn't on TikTok when he needed to reach out to the diabetic community.
Mm-mm. I'm not sure about
Okay.
that. I'm not. Hey,
Right,
don't quote me on that.
right. But it also goes to an issue of body positivity, where there's another industry, and there's two other industries affected. The body positivity industry is one, because what Ozempic does is provide another tool in the toolkit for managing the way in which society can, to some extent, influence. I don't like using the word control, but influence, nudge the way in which individuals assess themselves as within the scope of acceptable body shaping, which then has significant implications for everything from whether you're going to be hired to how people will react to you, to your social relations, and therefore your economic relations, and the like, your ability to court people if you're not married yet, et cetera, et cetera. None of which has to do with physical health, but all of which has to do with social health, in the sense of projecting your place in the social hierarchy. So Ozempic actually is a tool for making it possible not only to control, but then to shape, to use the markers of economic activity to enhance the ability to then police and control this. So that's number one. But the other thing is that when these drugs then, like any other great innovation, will spawn sub-industries as well. And in this case, of course, we have the secondary side effect of Ozempic. If you start from it as a diabetes drug, the side effect of which is weight loss, and then weight loss becomes a primary purpose, the side effect of the weight loss is Ozempic face, because apparently, I guess, a lot of what makes your face youthful is fat, and if you're draining fat, then you begin to go, you may be skinny and pretty, but from the face up, you've got another body issue, which is
Oh no,
uh,
I thought you were gonna say something hard.
no, I'm not poking fun, and I'm not using our cultural markers. I'm not going to refer to the Wicked Witch of the West or to some
Oh,
kind of old gnome, depending on your
creature.
gender preferences,
Great, thank
blah,
you.
blah,
Thank
blah.
you for
But,
being so
right, so,
considerate.
but your face, you're going to get Ozempic face, which means that there's money to be made by what do you call them? The facelift doctors. the plastic surgeons, right? And so this spawns a related set of industries, in a sense, of industry that then reinforces the value of shifting the creativity and social resources necessary to create these wonder drugs towards those things that society values most. And Ozempic suggests to us that what we value most is our ability to squeeze into a size X pair of jeans, so that we will be loved by people with whom we want to have intimate relations. We will better fit into social groups, and therefore advance our social standing and our standing within economic organizations. And that when we ascend to heaven, or some reasonable equivalent thereof, we will so wow everyone that we can use our Ozempic bodies to reach the choir of archangels.
I would like to think that we look and feel however we want whenever we
everyone says that, and then we go on a diet. we are at and we are at the mercy. There's no escaping this. You are at, if you're in a social collective, and that's why I love Ozempic. If you're in a social collective, it just underlines the thing that we like to pretend that we aren't linked to. If you're in collective society, you're stuck with its rules. And
no, I mean, when we ascend, when we
ascend. Oh, well, that's different rules. We're only guessing. But anyway, so that's number one. And then rapamycin is even more interesting. And you'd mentioned some cool things about it.
Oh, yes. The fact that it might add 10 to 12 years to someone's life.
Well, what did it start out as?
An immunosuppressant. That's what it started out as. And people were taking it.
Well, for what?
They would take it as before they got organ transplants. And it was mostly for people who were waiting for kidneys. But apparently, researchers are, recently I've been really interested in working to decipher how aging happens on a cellular level.
Okay. So they've been talking to cells.
They have, and they've been having really interesting conversations.
Okay, and what have cells told? What have cells told them? Are they talking to human cells, mice cells, pig
cells? But they're pretty optimistic about a couple of treatments.
Well, mice supposedly, if I remember, the little bit of science I remember is that mice are that there's a lot of alignment between mice, the way the internal mice thing works and the way the internal human thing works. So okay,
yeah, I have no idea why, and it's a little concerning.
You're gonna, again, when you ascend, you can ask.
I will ask. But I want to know now.
Right, but anyway, so they've been looking at aging, and they discovered, to their delight, that
rapamycin can mimic all of the things, not all of the things, a lot of the things that are connected to anti-aging and cell growth that are beneficial.
Oh my God, so my hair will go from white to not white again. I'll look like I was 17, and then I'll never be able to get into a restaurant that serves liquor again.
Yeah, sure.
No. So does it reverse aging, or does it stop aging?
I don't think it does the reversing. I think what it does is slow your cells from growing. So it
so it's like a vampire drug.
Yeah.
So that's when you stop. So
that's actually not quite. They're actually nicknamed. Well, you're close. You're just offended by
zombie cells. Well, yeah, but then you're dead, and then you have to eat brains. but if I remember my literature right, or at least my movie literature right, in some movie depictions, you basically, when you're bitten by the vampire and you convert forever to what you look like. So if you actually were foolish enough to wait to be converted until you were 80, that's what you're going to be for eternity. But if you hurry up and you do this at 20, then you're going to be 20 forever. But of course, the reason I mention this is immediately what flips into your head is, oh, abuse. So I'm a 15-year-old and I say, oh, I really like my 15-year-old self. So let me start chugging this stuff now. Right.
Well, I
But
mean,
there's absolutely no research, right, that says what this will do to a 15-year-old body as opposed to a 80-year-old body.
well, that's true. I mean, we're at the very, very cutting edge of this research, and I should clarify that the zombie cells are the ones that we want
Will
to
eat
get
your
rid of.
brain.
We need to get rid of. We don't like
Okay.
zombie cells. Those are they're called senescent cells, but we won't get into that. They're like cancerous and damaging.
All right. But so are people starting to do with rapamycin what they're doing with Ozempic?
This is
Thousands of
the most
people lining up.
interesting part. This is what I found interesting. There are some scientists and what people are calling biohackers that are taking this medicine daily and just
Yeah.
experimenting on themselves
Oh, cool. They have movies about this, bad things happen, but that's okay.
to, like, you know,
Okay, so
live
they're
longer.
experimenting on themselves. And so for what we know for the moment, this extension of life 10 or 15 years is now an unsupported claim, because no one has been experimenting on this drug for 10 or 15 years to see if you're going to last that much longer. And there's been no, what is a control group and a non-control group. So the control group drops dead at age X, and the
Yeah.
non
All
the
we got
rapamycin groups drops
are
dead at X.
random people that are willing to do it on themselves. Like,
Random people. I like that.
well, okay, yeah.
But are
The
these really
random
random
people we can
people?
find.
They're not like filthy rich people who decide that they want to enjoy their money a little longer.
Well, we have, according to Business Insider, there is a man named Dan, and who did not want to provide
We
a
don't want to know
last
the
name.
identity.
Yeah, because getting some drugs through the internet is not, the greatest way to spread your fame or gain your fame. But he's an Australian who exercises, eats relatively healthily,
And takes Ozempic.
meditates, does whatever, but
Does he take Ozempic?
who knows? Once a week, we'll take a few milligrams of rapamycin,
Mm-hmm.
and also takes a few metformin
All
daily,
right.
which is
Okay. So this becomes
diabetes.
part. So they are. There's a sense then that this, in a cocktail of other things, may have some effect in postponing either aging and or death.
Yeah, so they have decided to try it out on themselves and some on their patients, in the hopes that they may be able to avoid some chronic diseases, pain,
Okay.
and suffering basically as they age.
Okay. So the jury's out on rapamycin, but the jury is in on Ozempic.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So far as we know,
So far.
but of course, we have no idea whether longer term side effects will pop up, because we got to wait for the longer term. But again, they both go to, and for me the most interesting thing is how what we wind up when you're looking at these miracle drugs, you really have a better sense not of the miraculousness of science, but the way in which choices for the use of or the expenditure of scientific resources tend to be a function of the contemporary obsessions of society, and that you can learn a whole lot more about society by their Ozempic and rapamycin ingesting habits than you can about Ozempic and rapamycin, right?
Yeah.
So why them instead of why the focus, and indeed with Ozempic, which makes it very interesting, why the kind of stampede towards, at least in social media, the appearance of a
Exactly.
stampede, the virtual stampede towards something. And so what you wind up seeing is, oh, okay, so in a sense, the way in which we progress is um, a function of what we value most. And right now, what we seem to value most are
Looks.
looks and longevity, at least
Longevity. Hey,
longevity
who
of
doesn't value longevity and
right.
health?
Right, but and less so. Although, in another podcast we can argue, well, it's hard to say whether self-actualization is also valued too, since that market has been suppressed for 100 years, and we really don't know what that market would look like in terms of drug development. Well, I guess we do in the illicit market, but still, it's a distorted market, so we can't really tell. And then the way in which this only becomes effective or manifests itself in a society organized to permit these kind of market transactions that are not necessarily driven by or controlled by a public or public policy, which I think is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
Actually,
Are
what
there
I
any other
found.
drugs? Are there any other drugs on the horizon?
Oh, of course, I'm sure there are. We'll
Yeah,
find out soon enough.
right, right. And it does. And the reason I mention this is that these aren't like one-off things. And I think that these tend to fall within the broader category of what I understand to be a multi-billion-dollar industry in terms of supplements of all kind that tend to mirror the obsessions, the needs and desires of society, not only in terms of health, but in terms of what of the manifestations of what kind of health you're looking at when you're looking at these things. I'm surprised that as the baby boomers are aging, that we don't find magic drugs for, or that there isn't and maybe there is a tremendous amount more progress on dementia related, that is aging related things, dementia. We already have a booming business in artificial limbs.
Well, part of what rapamycin is capable of doing, or what the research is for, is to look at what it can do for Alzheimer's. And
Oh, okay, good. So you're killing two birds with one stone, or rather, you're extending the life of a bird.
yeah, so I think maybe that's
All right, so
possibly.
there is that connection. But here's a question for you. So if originally this was an immunosuppressant for transplants, and the side effect was you may live longer, as a function of the transplant. But now the side effect becomes again, like Ozempic, the side effect becomes its most valuable feature, which is you can live longer. But now the reason it was created becomes the side effect, that is immune suppressant. So I take this stuff, my immune system is suppressed, and I go off and someone with COVID hacks on me and I die.
Ironic, yes.
Well, no, that may be the equivalent of Ozempic face. Because if in fact that's the case, then
You're using it for a beauty.
well, no, another side industry will be created to avoid
Absolutely.
immunosuppression while keeping intact the longevity effects
It's the
of
beauty
the
of
drugs.
markets.
Right. And so all of a sudden, something that has one thing actually is a gift that keeps on giving in terms of the economic possibilities, or the possibilities of economic expansion within this area it provides.
Solve
And
one problem, create another.
right, and indeed, if you look at it that way, and this is where I end. I've got nothing else to say after this. If you look at it from a certain perspective, what this sort of suggests is that the best thing about, I'm flipping things as I normally do on its head, that the most valuable economic characteristic of modern miracle drugs are their side effects in two respects. One, the side effects can become like Ozempic and rapamycin. It can become the principal value of the thing. But two, there's a lot of money to be made in selling drugs that have side effects that then cause one to have to develop processes, procedures, and other medicines that treat the side effect. And this is again an old story, but one that's worth underlining here, that perhaps there's an incentive to control, but not to eliminate side effects, because in fact, the long-term money is in the side effects rather than in the thing that it cures. And with that, I will go woof woof.
I will also go bark bark, but before I leave, if anyone heard the interloper earlier meowing, I apologize.
Oh, I thought that was a commentary on our comment. I kind of like it. Korean soap operas will sometimes do that. They'll have these like meows when someone says something cat-like.
Oh, well,
So
she
we
was
ought to build that.
commenting.
We ought to build that into our podcast. We need a meow, and our audience can suggest other sound effects that may be useful. We move on. So bark, bark, and meow.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you later.